This is our Economy 2020 series. So we're going to do these once a month. It'll be the first Monday of every month at 6:50 p.m. right here, unless we seriously outgrow this place. We're limiting the people on purpose to a certain degree because that makes it seem to the other people who couldn't come more important. They'll pay more attention. We will also have the videos on. How this is going to work is there's going to be about 25-minute presentation, and then we open it up for questions and comments and opinions, if you like. I do ask, because of that, and because we record the first 25 minutes, that you hold your questions till the end. But that's why we gave you paper and pencil, so you can write down your questions so you don't forget them by the time it comes around to where you can ask them. So this first one is called Economics 101. Oh, I'm on the wrong page. Economics 101. So for those of you who saw the video where we were advertising this meeting, I'm going to repeat about 2 minutes of that video, but that's all. The rest of it will be brand new. So this one is, as I said, Economics 101. One person's spending is another person's income. What we're trying to do tonight is get you to get just a real basic understanding of economics, and then as we go throughout the year, we're going to talk about other things, such as interest rates. Why are they so high on one end and so low on the other end? Inflation and deflation. We're going to talk about that. We will touch on recession tonight. We'll talk about gold sometime throughout the year. We'll talk about tax law type changes, one in the meeting somewhere. So there'll be a different subject every month, and we'll get deeper and deeper into economics as we go. This is the basic one. So, as I said, one person's spending is another person's income. The real brief, easy explanation of this is this, and then we're going to go into a slightly different and deeper explanation. This is Joe Consumer. Now I want to mention, if any of you make fun of my artistic abilities or inabilities, which would be a more accurate word, you get to pick up the tab for tonight. So I would highly suggest you don't laugh at me. So this is Joe Consumer. Joe Consumer buys a hot dog. One person's spending is another person's income. Actually, several people are going to make income off of this one person buying a hot dog. We have the farmer. He provides the meat and the wheat, right? Then we have the processor. He turns the meat and the wheat and the hot dog in the bun. Right? So each of these guys are going to make a few cents when this guy buys a hot dog. And then we have the truck drivers, because we have to get the raw products to become a finished product to where it can sell. So they're going to make a little bit of money because this guy bought a hot dog. Then we have the grocery stores and the wholesalers. And of course they're going to sell to the vendors or to the final consumer. And then we have the vendors who finally sells the hot dog to Joe Consumer. So like I said, if he doesn't buy that hot dog, all these people are out a little bit of money. Well, that's no big deal when it's one hot dog, one person. But what if this is hundreds or thousands of people? That's going to affect all of these people's income, right? And so now if they're not making the same income as they were making before, it means they don't have as much money to spend, and that means they're going to have to go without something and not buy something, which it just starts snowballing all the way downhill. To take this, you're going to love this one, take this to the next deeper level so you can see it. I'm laughing. What did I just tell you? This is the chicken farmer, and he raises chickens. And the chickens are worth about $5.55 each at the moment, okay? But he needs a pair of boots. Have you ever tried to make a pair of boots out of chicken skin? It does not work very well. Not that I know that from experience. But anyway, he needs a pair of boots. So what does he need? He needs some cowhide, some leather, right? Well, fortunately, we have a cattle rancher here with a really skinny cow. Careful. And each of these cows is worth about $732. So the problem is, he's tired of eating beef all the time. He wants some chickens. And he wants the feathers so he can make himself a nice new pillow to sleep on at night. Well, our problem is, one cow is worth 132 chickens, right? Well, he doesn't want a whole cow. He only wants a part of a cow. He just wants enough to make a pair of boots. He doesn't want 132 chickens, he just wants a couple chickens for dinner and a bunch of feathers. So how do we make this work? How can we make both of these guys get what they want by using what they have? And that's the start of an economy. So, let's get into some definitions. What exactly is an economy? An economy is the wealth and resources of a country or region, especially in the terms of, and this is the most important part right here, in the terms of production and consumption of goods and services. I'm going to repeat that because this is the meat and potatoes of what makes an economy work, what makes an economy go round and round. So it's the production and consumption of goods and services. Well, you can see here, going back to the past example, the goods and services, of course, are the chickens and the cows. The services are like the truck drivers and the processors of the meat who turn it into a hot dog and all of that. So this is what makes the whole economy work. And what we're doing is we're trading basically what we have for what we want. So the economy is really all about trade and it's exchanging things. But we have to find a better way because we don't want to trade one cow for 132 chickens, right? Doesn't make sense. So how do we do that? Well, we have to use something that's called currency. Currency is a system of money, that's in general use in a particular country. So for instance, you know, the US dollar is not the only currency, obviously. We have the Deutschmark in Germany, we have the pound in England, we have the lira in Italy. So it's a system of money. But then you have to say, okay, well, what is money exactly? Well, money is the current medium, important word there, of exchange or trade. Remember back here I said we're exchanging and we're trading what we have for what we want. So money is the current medium. Could rice be money?
Sure.
And once upon a time it was. Could salt be money? Once a time it was. And how did they do that so that was consistent though? They had to weigh it and we did it by the pound, right? Can you imagine carrying in, I don't know, a ton or so of rice into the Ford dealership to buy your Ford F-150 pickup truck? So we had to come up with a better way. Also, could we use rocks? If we wanted to, if we all agreed. And actually we have, and we have for centuries. Is gold not a rock? I know it's also an element, but if when you find it on the ground, it's a frickin' rock. You know, same with silver. But then, now we have the weights, and so a piece of gold this big is worth a lot of money. So now how do we use that? And therefore coinage came around centuries ago. They said, okay, we'll represent that gold. And back then it was actually backed by gold. It isn't any longer. And that's a whole nother seminar that we're going to get into later on in the year. Here in the United States, of course, we use the US dollar. So, what is one of these things actually? How much is this thing worth?
100 pennies.
Whatever people will give.
No, stop, think about it.
7
How much
pieces.
is this piece of paper worth?
Only what we say it is.
But basically nothing. It's nothing but a piece of paper, isn't it? What it does is it represents a value. So when we come back into the exchanging, this represents basically 1 credit or 100 credits, depending if you're looking at pennies or a dollar. So in this case, going back to the chickens and the cows again, $1 equals 18% of a chicken. Which is easier to exchange? This or a drumstick? Right? You have to figure out how much is 18% of a chicken, then you have to hope every single chicken is at the exact same size and weight. That's not going to happen. So therefore we need money. $1 is 1/1400ths of 1% of the cow. How are you ever going to figure that one out? This is why we have to have a currency, a medium of exchange. Okay? So, in order to get one of these, what do you have to do? You can rob me, of course. But most of the time, in order to get $1, we have to provide a product or a service. right? That's what we get. Now you might say, well, I don't actually produce any product, right? Don't have a service, but you do. Your time is actually a product. So you're exchanging your time to help produce a product or a service, and so then you get your $1. But if we want a product or a service, what happens? We have to pay that dollar to somebody, right? Or however many dollars it is. Therefore, once again, this is why they say money makes the world go round, because this is how it all works. It's all exchange traded, basically. Now in America, this is one of the seminars we're going to do later on too. This is actually a credit. That's all it is. It says that you can use this to pay a bill. Because we went off the gold standard in 1971. We had printed too much money by then, that we had more money outside of the United States than we had enough gold to back that money. And that's not even counting the dollars that were here in the United States. So what they did is they changed it and they said, okay, you can use this as legal tender to pay off debts, hence the exchange. Well, they keep printing money and it keeps becoming worth less and less and less. But that, like I said, that's a different class that we're going to do later on. So now that you have kind of a basic understanding of how the economy works, we're going to get, we did a little bit of a teaser on the video that was advertising for this class. I said, everybody's wondering, maybe not everybody, a lot of people are wondering, is there a recession coming? Is it going to happen this year? I said on the video, I don't know. Nobody knows that for sure. Is a recession coming? Actually, I do know there is a recession coming. Do I know when it's going to happen? Heck no. But I know what goes up comes down, then goes up, then goes down. So the trick is to understand what a recession is, what causes the recession, and then you have a better chance of protecting yourself during that recession. And so that's where we're going next with this. So what is a recession? It's a business cycle of contraction. I know that's a bunch of big words, so let's go on to the second half of that definition because it makes a whole lot more sense. It's a widespread drop in spending. Remember all the way back at the beginning, we said one person's spending is another person's income, right? So what causes a recession? Somebody starts buying less. Back to Joe Consumer and the hot dog. If 1,000 people stop buying hot dogs, it's going to affect a whole lot of people down below that. So why do recessions happen? Well, there's three reasons. The last one's the biggest, of course, but we'll go through each of these. When people don't feel and value are really, really important here. When people don't feel like they're getting their full value. So to put that in perspective, let's say, right now gas is, what, $2.40, $2.50 a gallon, right? And we've gotten used to that, and we feel when we give them $2.50, we got a gallon of gas, that's a fair trade at that point in time. What if it jumped up to $3.50 a gallon? Would we feel like we're getting the same deal, or do we kind of feel like we're getting robbed or ripped off? For a while, eventually we get used to it again, unfortunately. At the beginning, we're making the same amount of money, but all of a sudden something that we really need costs a lot more money. So we feel like we're getting gypped. Would you travel a little bit less if the price of gas went up to $3.50 a gallon for a while?
Sure.
You would, wouldn't you? So when we no longer feel like we're getting full value for our dollar, we start spending less, and here we go. That's one of the starts. The other one is when people don't feel like they need anything more. So if things are already on the slide a little bit because of number one, and you're thinking, I'd really like to have a new couch. You know, here in America, we are terribly, terribly spoiled. We have a hard time distinguishing between needs and wants, which is going to cause problem number 3 here in a second. But so we want a new couch. We look at it, and things are great and rosy and all that, I'm going to go buy the new couch. It doesn't matter that the old one's not worn out, I'm just tired of looking at it. But if things are getting a little bit tough and we're not quite sure and interest rates are real low and we're not making the money we're making, you're going to take a second look at that couch and go, I could probably live with it for a couple more years. I mean, it's not broken, it's fine and dandy. You know, I just want a different color. And so when people feel they don't need stuff anymore, and it takes a while for America to come up with this one, like I said, because we're so confused wants and needs, then they are also going to spend less. Once again, as soon as somebody starts spending less, it trickles all the way down. The third and the biggest reason is lack of liquidity. And this is the one that scares me the most at the moment. Let's see why. So as you can tell by now, I love definitions. Lack of liquidity just means there's less money to deal with. But what causes a lack of liquidity? Well, for one, low interest rates or low dividend rates. Now you may say low interest rates help spur the economy on. I mean, the government's told us this for years, right? And they're sure that they're right. And to a certain extent, they are right. When interest rates are lower so that people can buy more of a house, right? Or they can refinance their house, so now they end up with more money and they go out and they spend. And that's what government's really all about, is keep the people spending, because they think that's the only thing that works with the economy. So to a certain extent that's true, but we also get to a point that's called the point of diminishing returns. And for an example here, I don't know how many of you know this, but a lot of the European countries and Japan, they're already in what's called a negative interest rate environment. In other words, when you put money into your savings account, they charge you a fee.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
We explain that really well in the later class too, because you gotta wonder, why would anybody do that? Why would you give them the money and then you gotta pay them a fee to hold on to it? Now the big boys, the big banks, some of the big corporations, the other governments, when you borrow from them, they'll actually pay you to borrow from them. That does not go for Joe Consumer on the average. It only works for the big money boys. Joe Consumer, now they do have, Finland I think it is, has a negative interest rate on mortgages, but they have fees that are extraordinary. They would have been better with a 1% interest rate than the negative 0.6% interest rate, because the fees are so bad. So like I said, it never passes down to Joe Consumer. That's just for the big boys to play with. But then on the other hand, low interest can also cause less spending, because if we have our money in savings accounts and we used to earn 2% and now we're only earning 1%, that gives us less income, right? Not to mention also makes us worry more about it. So now we're thinking, now I really don't want to spend that money. I better save it, because who knows how bad these things are going to get. And so low interest rates can actually curtail spending. Oh, back to the negative interest rates just for a second. Also, the point of diminishing returns. So when they took it down to zero, a lot of people were borrowing money, and they were still paying a little bit, but it was basically around zero. They found out when they took it down to 0.6 negative, there's not more borrowing going on. So in other words, it's just, let's go back to gas again. If we changed from 250 to 150, how many people would actually travel more and probably buy more gas? A bunch of us, right? What if it went down to $1 from there? Would we buy even more? No, we're probably already doing all the traveling we're going to be doing. And so we've hit a point where going even lower doesn't help anymore. As a matter of fact, it's going to hurt now, because now the oil companies aren't making enough money, so what happens? They start laying off people. They start laying off people, we have less people spending. What happened is they took it too low and we had diminishing returns. The returns they were expecting actually reversed and went in the wrong direction. Okay, income decreases, either voluntarily or involuntarily. And right now that's a big problem, because we have in the United States the baby boomers. And the baby boomers are turning 65 at the rate of about 10,000 people per day. And we probably have about that many people retiring. They don't all retire at 65, obviously, but anywhere between 62, 68, 70. Dang, I'm getting close to one of those numbers. Anyway, you know, we have probably about 10,000 people retiring, and you're going to go, oh, but wait, we have the younger people coming in, so we're replacing them. But stop and think about that for a second. Who makes more money? Somebody who's worked at a job for 30 years and is about to go out the door, or somebody who just came in within the last year or two? So yeah, we have these people coming in, not as many as are going out, which is problem number one. Problem number two is the people who are going out make a lot more money than the people who are coming in. So it's creating kind of a backwash. It's going to become a problem. Number one problem for lack of liquidity is lack of borrowing power. Once again, here in America, we're very spoiled, we're very wasteful, we can't distinguish between needs and wants, and we think everything can be bought on a credit card. You know, And the government pushes this, the banks push this, Wall Street pushes this, because that's what keeps everything going and the stock market going up, is if we could just keep people spending, so whatever it takes. Right now, well, this was actually 2 days ago, the number may change slightly. Personal debt is at an all-time high, $13.86 trillion is personal debt. That's just the United States at the moment. That is higher than 2007, 2008. Yes, it includes home mortgages. Yes, it includes cars. Yes, it includes student loans, and of course your credit cards. But it is at an astronomical number at the moment. The government isn't any better. They're at $23 trillion in debt. We are so far in debt with the government right now, we have to borrow more money to pay the interest on our debt. We're not bringing in enough money. We're only bringing in about 2/3 of all the money we need. So not only do we have to borrow money to keep things going, we have to borrow money just to pay the interest on the debt. Well, I'm sure you can all see that snowballs badly. This cannot continue, and there's nothing on the horizon at the moment of how to reverse this. There is a way that they think is going to work, and it will to a certain extent, but boy, you're going to hate that answer. Hate to say it, that's in one of the other classes. So, at this point in time, what time do I have?
7:15.
Yep, right there. Okay, so at this point in time, we're now going to open up for a discussion. Don't turn off quite yet. I want to throw that question in here. We're going to open it up for questions and discussion and whatever. And don't worry, if you run out of questions, I have plenty more material that we can dive into here. And there's going to be a surprise at the end. I'm going to tell you something that I should have told you guys years ago, but I didn't know it. I'm a little embarrassed that I didn't know it. It's just not there. Wait, I get to ask the first question, and you can ask the second one. Is there a sign, thinking about what I've showed you and told you tonight, is there a sign where you can see that a recession is starting way before the government, CNBC, Wall Street, before anybody else would tell you that a recession has started? What's the one sign that you can see all by yourself?